get you to understand why we're talking about love, the greatest of these. Well, we have the Greek word nouni, today, which means but now. And I just put for your emphasis, present. He's talking about the present. He's talked about a lot of stuff, but presently, Paul says, I want to talk about three things. And then he uses a Greek word, mini, from the word minnow. And you're interested in that word because it's in John 15, where Jesus uses the word abide. Abide in me? Well, he's simply saying to be existent. This is to stay, okay? It means to remain. Paul says, but now. Still with me? And then he uses the word pistis, which is the word for faith. When I see the word faith, what really comes to my mind is persuaded to believe. I'll help you out with that. In Greek classes, we had words like pistis, pistos, pistuo. Those are words. Faith, faithful, believe. But when you look at those words, you'll say, now, what is the root word that these words come from? And if you're from the north, you may say pytho. In the south, you may say patho. Still with me? Which is the word for persuade. Oh, you like this. You see, you have faith because you've been persuaded to believe. Amen. You know Romans 8:28, right? Mm-hmm. For we know that all things work together for good for those who love God, for those who are the called according to his purpose. Now get this. You see, this thing and that thing, God worked together for good. If you've been at Calvary at the time, I'll use a dumb illustration like, how do you bake German chocolate cake? You help me with this. What are some ingredients that goes into a German chocolate cake? You'll have to raise your hand, you're in my class. Yes, ma'am.
Betty Crocker cake mix.
Oh, cake mix. All right, show your hand. Okay. We were baking a German chocolate cake. What goes into it? Yeah. Eggs.
Coconut.
Coconut.
German chocolate.
German chocolate. Flour. Come on.
Milk.
Milk.
Oil, butter.
Oil, butter. Sugar. Here's the deal. We got all these ingredients. So now what we're going to have to do is to stir it up. Okay, we don't have the cake yet. We're stirring all of this stuff up. We're going to mix it all together. And then what's the next thing we have to do? You have to put it in the oven. Heat has to go to it. Oh, I need to give you another disclaimer. I have a speech impediment. I'm a stutterer. So I'm going to be jerking words out. And I talk loud. The other thing, I'm from Charleston, South Carolina. Homegirl. She went to class at college. I went to South Carolina State College. She graduated in 3 years? 64. And I got kicked out of South Carolina State twice. So every time she sees me, she wants to take me by Claflin and so because the universities were right together. There was a wire fence that separated. Isn't that dumb? Isn't that stupid? Separating. You know what we did as students? We cut a hole in the fence. That's how we went over back to school. So, and I also went to jail. We went to prison. Didn't go to I didn't know her back then. She was the one who kept those on the other. But we were demonstrating without a permit, civil rights movement. I guess that's why I'm up talking about racial, because of what happened back then. So you put this thing in the oven. So you put heat to it, you take it out, and then you let it cool off a little bit. Do you put anything on top of it?
Frosting.
The frosting if you want to. Here's where I'm going. I'm using the word pistis for the word faith. And I'm telling you, faith is because you've been persuaded to believe. In Acts 26:28, Agrippa said to Paul, you almost, what? Persuaded me. You see, Paul used a lot of scenarios with Agrippa, trying to get him saved, really. And he said, you almost persuaded me. You have faith today because God persuaded you. I am married today because I persuaded that girl back there. Oh yeah, I did, like your husband did you. And if you're not married yet, I'll tell you how to make it happen. and then you have faith, when you have hope, you have elpis, which simply means an awaiting expectation. Hope, an awaiting expectation. You're waiting something to happen as though you know it's going to happen. Because there's some things that have already come about that you are guaranteed. That's what hope is. Okay, he's not on wishing. No, I know this is going to take place. Paul is talking about faith, hope, and love. Almost as if though I know these things are going to take place. And then we use the word love, which has to do with the word agape, giving, expecting nothing in return. You always think of this as a sacrificial word. Husbands, this is giving, expecting nothing in return. Love is what we're talking about. And if you do this right, you get things in return. Nobody want to say amen. I tell couples when they come in my office that I've never had a husband who loved his wife whereby she was not submitting, which is a wonderful word. We don't have time to get into that yet. Okay? Now, Paul uses these words, faith, hope, love, in other places. In one of his earliest epistles, 1 Thessalonians, chapter 1, verse 3, Paul uses these three words. He says, remembering without ceasing your work of faith, your labor of love, and your patience of hope. He uses three words to describe these. Work of faith. Work is hard. But it comes with a harder word. Labor. Women know about that word. Are you with me? Yeah. Labor of love. And then there's patient, which is harder than labor. That's enduring. That's like putting it on your back and you're carrying it. Okay? So earlier in Paul's writing, he uses faith, hope, love. And somebody turn with me to Colossians chapter 1, verses 4 and 5. Yeah, this is class participation. You're going to have to participate with me. But you have to talk loud because we are being recorded. Okay? Colossians 1, 4 and 5. Read it loud like you're in my speech class. Come on. Come on. Yes, read. Who have it? Come on, you guys.
Since we heard of your faith in Christ Jesus and of the love which ye have to all the saints, for the hope which is laid up for you in heaven, whereof ye heard before in the word of the truth of the gospel.
Okay, you have those words. We heard of your faith. Faith can be heard of, right? And then he talks about your faith is all coupled with the love of Christ Jesus. And from the result of that, he talks about their hope, their heavenly hope. Because of their faith, their love, they have the hope that they're going to spend eternity with the Lord. And Colossians is one of the last books Paul wrote. He's in prison in writing that. So we go from the first to the last. He talks about faith, hope, and love. Stay with me. I'm going somewhere with this.
All right.
So he says in 1 Corinthians 13:13, he said, these three, Now he's talked about a lot of stuff in chapter 13 and a lot of gifts in chapter 12. But now he nails them down to these three. And then Paul says, but the greatest of these three is love. You see where he's going with this? Because I want to talk to you about love. And if you get this right, as Pastor Clay said, Dr. Clay said, oh, we'll heal this racial divide. So, you need to buy the Logos package that the Bible selling. This is what this came from. Because I have it, I just Googled it, not Googled, but you know, we started with Ignatius. He's one of the early church fathers, and he's talking about 1 Corinthians 13. And with that, he wants us to know that everything is going to pass except these three. All right? And then I'm not going to read all this because it's going to take time. And Tertullian, he also initially talks about these three, 1 Corinthians 13. And rightly he is talking about love being the greatest. He says that faith departs when what we're convinced by becomes vision. And again, he's using in 1 Corinthians 13, but with that which is perfect is come. Again, I don't have time to deal with you on that issue. I think I have a better, correct persuasion of what that which is perfect is. But the church fathers, they were early. Right there and there, John, okay, the apostles, and they were trying to describe what that which is perfect is come. And they continued on, the church fathers, talking about that which is perfect is come. What I really want to get into is a definition of love. You must have a correct definition for love. I love you, honey. Yeah. And I say to my wife, why do I have to always say first, I love you? Why can't you just say, I love you, babe, I love you, I love you? Well, I'm the man, right? What is your definition of love? Well, I've come up with 7 things. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I got one this morning that I'm going to work a little bit from Psalms 119. I love to read Proverbs every day. I encourage my men, my ladies at the church to read Proverbs every day because it deals with wisdom. Yeah. Then I say, you know, if you really want a good devotion, read Psalms every day. 5 chapters in Psalms that goes with the day of the week. Today is the 16th. So 5 times 16 would be 90. Right? 80. So I started with chapter 75 and stopped on 80. Right? Yeah. 90 you said, right? Somebody help me. Well, I read it. 5 times 16 is 80. So no, I mean very much like the first day you start with chapter 1 and you read to chapter 5. And the next day you start with chapter 6 and you go to chapter 10. So the same thing with today. And something I read today in Psalms 119, because I try to read Psalms 119 every day. I try to read Psalms 119. I'm trying to show you how spiritual I am. But here's the deal. Every month in reading 5 chapters of Psalms, Psalms 119 comes after Psalms 120. Right?
119 before 120.
I'm sorry?
Psalms 119 before 120.
It comes on the 24th day. Right? The 24th day. 5 times 24 is 120. So every month, the 24th day I have to read Psalms 119. And I say to my spirit, I say to my soul, I got to read Psalms 119 today. Which means that I need a little more time. Are you still with me?
Yeah.
So then one month, I don't know when it was, Fanny, but one month I said, soul, why do you feel like this? Come on, this is the Bible. Why do I feel like, I got to read Psalms 119 today. As you read the scriptures in Psalms, you know, that sometimes you have to command your soul. You all sing a song like we do at Calvary. I command my soul to praise the Lord. I command my soul to praise the Lord. Well, we sing a song like that. And when a song is saying, you have to command your soul sometimes because your soul doesn't want to do what you need to do. And the soul is the seat of man's emotion. So emotionally, I gotta do something. 119. Well, in reading that, today I came up with something that I thought, love. Because the psalmist kept saying, I love the Lord. I love the law. I love his name. I love. Well, what is love? It has to do with the seat of man's emotion and go through some other things, but I came up with these words, and I like words that I can remember things by. So, I think Pastor Clay used the word demonstration today. Demonstration. Love is a demonstration. Can somebody give me an example? Say something about what does it mean to demonstrate your love? This is an action.
Put it in action.
It's an action? So what?
Put it into action.
Put it in action. You say you love? Okay.
Show me.
Show me. Missouri.
Right.
Show me state. You love, huh? Okay, show me. Isn't that the way it is, ladies? Show me. There's determination. From Charleston, South Carolina, we would say things like, come hell or high water. I'm determined to do this. That's what love is. It's a determination. Well, I don't feel like. No. I'm determined to do this. Love is like a dedication. I dedicate babies at the church. But really, I don't do the dedication. I try to let the parents know, you're doing the dedication. We're just having a service. We're going to, offer this baby back to the Lord. That's what love is. It's basically something that you are dedicated to do. I don't have a ring on. I do have a wedding ring. The other day I was doing something in the garage and I had some mothballs and as I was putting it around, some of the stuff got in my ring. And when I went to bed, I kept smelling mothball. I washed my hand and it dawned on me, man, it's in my ring. So I had to take it off and clean it, and honey, I still have it. But you want people to know, I'm dedicated. I'm dedicated to this woman. Love. Also, you get the word devotion. It's like Solomon, he dedicated the temple. It's almost, get this now, don't throw me out of here, but this word devotion is almost like worship. If you love, it's to that degree. It's a devotional thing. But it's also a desire. Do you really love? I mean, you can make the desire to hate, but no. It's a desire to love. And then it's a decision. Are you really gonna love? Well, I decided that I'm gonna love. Turn with me to Psalms 119. And I got this word this morning. Delight. Delight. That was at the end of the passage, so it must be Psalms 118, verse 174. Somebody read that real quickly. 119, verse 174.
I long for your salvation, Lord, and your law gives me delight.
You see, he is talking about what he loves he used the word long, and he said, it gives me delight. Jump up, somebody, to 165. Anybody?
Great peace have those who love your law, and nothing causes them to stumble.
Great peace have those who love your law. We're talking about the Bible. We're talking about the Torah, the total teachings of God. Great peace have those who love thy law. We say we love the Lord, but do we really love to spend time in his word? Somebody look up 163. But thy law do I love. What about 159? Real loud.
Consider how I love your precepts. Revive me, O Lord, according to your loving kindness.
You see the word love keep coming up? Okay? And then look for me at 140. Read.
Thy word is very pure, therefore thy servant loveth it.
Yeah. I love it. Then 132.
Look thou upon me, and be merciful unto me, and thou usest to do unto those that love thy name.
That love thy name. Do you love thy name? Just for curiosity's sake, read 133.
Direct my steps
in
by
thy word, and let not any iniquity have dominion over me.
Hey, that's a good verse. Direct my steps according to your word, and let no iniquity have dominion over me. Do you want to pray that sometime? God, direct my steps, order my steps, and let no iniquity, no sin have dominion. We were talking around the table today about drugs and how it's just taking our community out because people love drugs. But there's something else about it though. Man, it has dominion, power. And those of us who've never gotten into drugs, I am old school, it was alcohol for me in my day, but that younger generation, they got into drugs and some of them have never gotten out. Yeah. So my kick then is to delight yourself in the law, in the Lord, in his word. We're talking about the word love. So I really believe a good definition for love will help in explaining the different times the word is used. Get this. You see, Jesus said to him, you shall love the Lord, your God. He also said in Matthew 22:39, and the second is like this, you shall love your neighbor. He says, love the Lord, love your neighbor. And Luke 6:27, but I say unto you who hear, love your enemies. Now wait a minute, he's using the same word to say love. Love the Lord. Love your neighbor. Love your enemy. John 3:16, for God so loved the world. Ephesians 5:25, husbands, love your wives. He's using the same word. You better have a good definition for the word love, and you can use love in all of these cases. In 1 John 2:15, he said, do not love the world. In other words, John is saying, stop loving the world. The same word he's saying to love God. And husbands, love your wife. He says, if anyone loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him. Well, I love the Lord. Really. John is saying, you're lying. If we're talking about this same word, love, well, there are many more references for the word love. Greater love is no one than this, For Christ Jesus, neither circumcision nor uncircumcision is anything, but faith working through love. Stay with me now. Again, I quoted 1 Thessalonians 1:3 about the labor of love. 1 Timothy 1:5. It says, now the purpose of the commandments is love from a pure heart. Beloved, let us love one another, for love is of God. And everyone who loves is born of God and knows God. Love. The greatest of these is love. Some contemporary practical living with this word. Without love, 1 Corinthians 13, 1 through 3, I'm a big zero. You know, God speaks in tongues of men and individuals that have no love. He says, I am a big zero if I don't love. Love bears up under any circumstances. Doesn't matter what you're going through, what has happened to you. Man, when Pastor Clay, Dr. Clay was talking about baseball. See, I played baseball. I went to college to play baseball. South Carolina State had the best baseball team during my time. You know, you can talk about FAMU, Florida A&M. That was during my time, okay? And yeah, I didn't get to play one game. Really didn't get to practice because I was on academic probation. Sorry. But Pastor Clay's situation, man. Yeah. And we now understand that you can bear up. The word bear, you know, interesting Greek word. Pharaoh, like Pharaoh, let my people go. It has the idea to bear up under. That's what you can do when there's love. Love will never be put down. Okay? If you love, you can stand, you can smile, you can work under any situation if there's truly love. 1 Corinthians 13. And love precedes a greater understanding. You know, when that which is perfectly come, that which is partially done away. We'll talk about that some other time, not today. But love is the greatest of all. Well, because of my time, and I don't have a lot of time, it's 3:05. Hope we're going to enjoy this. In 1 John 3:14, someone turn in your Bible. We want you to read this. I was sitting in the class at Washington Bible College back in the late 60s, and the professor was teaching from 1 John. Somebody read 1 John 3:14, real loud.
We know that we have passed from death to life because we love the brethren. He who does not love his brother abides in death.
Now check this out. We went to jail, to the South Carolina State Correctional Institution, for demonstrating without a permit. We shall overcome. We were singing until they closed the gates for the prison. And then, I don't know if your group, and my group started singing a Nat King Cole song. I will never demonstrate. I'm sorry. So sitting in class, I already gotten saved, and he's teaching this. We know we have passed from death unto life because we love white folks. That's what came to me. I looked around, I was the only African American in this class. That God said, Alan, never doubt your salvation.
Amen.
You know you passed from death unto life because you love white folks. That's right. To me, I took it personal. Okay? That prejudice? Now, you've heard me preach, and you heard me talk about Carol O'Connor kissing Harriet. You remember that year? that I preached.
Yeah.
And I used the illustration that my wife and family were in South Carolina, and I was getting up to go to the kitchen, and the heat of the night was on. And when he reached down and kissed Harriet, all I can remember was that old show he used to play on called Archie. Yeah, he was a prejudiced guy. Now, this white guy reaching down kissing this black woman, and I said in the message, I said, "Oh my goodness!" And I walked in the kitchen. Now, Doc came behind me and said, "Reverend, do you have a problem?" I have a problem? She said, "Yes, you have a problem." Now, wait a minute. I was saved, sanctified, filled with the Holy Ghost, you know, haven't been to Bible college, I'm pastoring a great church. And I'm going, "Oh my goodness." Now, would I've had a problem if that was Denzel Washington kissing, you want to give me a name? Whomever. Sandra Bullock.
Okay.
Would have had a problem. My wife tells me don't use Sandra Bullock. Because you don't know all the things she does. Right? Would I have had a problem? See, I grew up in the South, you guys. I'm sorry, South Carolina. Fanny grew up in Alabama, okay? If you grew up in the South, you know stuff that went on. So, where did that come from? Oh my goodness. What was going on with me? I thought I was clear from all of that. God uses things to bring out what's inside of you. Listen, if you pass from death unto life, then there shouldn't be any, oh my goodness. Are you with me? You see an interracial couple, what goes on in your mind? Better be nothing but love. Oh my goodness. Come on, man. No. If it's love now, if it's love. And we have some definition for the word love. Through love, we're able to build bridges to cross that will overcome racial barriers.
Yeah.
The folks at Calvary know. Now, one of the only guys who still use words like white and black, so I'm old. But every Thursday, I have breakfast at 7 o'clock with a bunch of old white men. Every Thursday, 7 o'clock. I'm one of the youngest there, and I call Mom and say, "Mama, guess what? I'm having breakfast every Thursday with a bunch of old white guys." And Mama, nobody like Mama can break you down. That's right. She said, "Alan, you are among the elderlies now." I'm not that old. But these old guys, they've done everything. They've flown the B-52s, they were captains of ships, and we just get together. I was doing a revival at a church in our area, and one of the guys asked me, he said, "Pastor, come have breakfast with us tomorrow." I said, he said, "Of course, about we've been getting together for years, and we have breakfast." He mentioned the name of the place. And I said, "Okay." I thought, why not, man? One guy came in one morning, and he tapped me on the shoulder, Nick, and he hit me and said, "Good morning, sunshine." And I thought, a white man don't call black men sunshine. But he's 82 years old. He doesn't know any better. So I said, "Good morning." Good morning, son. And we just went on. You see, we need to purposefully, with love, build bridges that will cross racial barriers. We can talk about it. But are we going to intentionally do something? And that's why we have Fanny, as you know, Crew, Campus Crusade for Christ, predominantly white organization. They come to Virginia Beach every year, and they'll migrate upon our church. And I tell you what, our church looks different in the summer. You know, there are white kids all over there, college kids from everywhere, and they're there having a good time. Oh, you watch them clap? Sometimes they're offbeat. But they're there, and they will go back and they'll tell folks they had a wonderful time during the summer because they visited Calvary Evangelical Baptist Church. You see, you got to do some things intentionally if you're going to really demonstrate love that will build bridges.
Amen.
Okay?
Amen.
The opposite of love is hate. That's simple. You love, but man, if you don't show it, John aligns hate with murder. Somebody read for me 1 John 3, 11 through 15. Real strong. 1 John 3.
For this is the message that you heard from the beginning, that we should love one another, not as Cain, who was of that wicked one and slew his brother, and wherefore slew him, because his own words were evil and his brother's righteous. Marvel not, my brethren, if the world hate you. We know that we have passed from death unto life, because we love the brethren. He that loveth not his brother abideth in death. Whosoever hateth his brother is a murderer, and ye know that no murderer hath eternal life abiding in him.
Very simple. Very simple. If you hate people, it's almost as if though murder. Now what Dr. Clay said today, listen, sinners sin.
That's
You
right.
expect them there in darkness.
That's right.
But for us who are believers, I'm sorry, we can't exemplify hate in our lives. It shouldn't even be in our heart, as you heard from Dr. Ray Smith on Sunday. The love of God, the children of God are given the mandate to love. In 1 John 3, 7 through 9. You still have 1 John 3?
Yes.
Read 7 through 9 for me.
Dear
Anybody?
children, let no man deceive you. He that doeth righteousness is righteous, even as he is righteous. He that committeth sin is one of the devils, for the devil sinned from the beginning. But this purpose the Son of God was manifested, that he might destroy the works of the devil. Whosoever is born of God does not commit sin, but his seed remains in him, and he cannot sin because he is born of God.
John aligns hate and not practicing love to that of the work of the devil. And we don't need to help the devil at all.
No, we don't.
Okay? So, we just need to do it. Love on people. Everyone deserves a little bit of love. And I know you have your rights. We all do. But we do have the right to love people in every way. The last thing I want to say, and then we're going to talk a little bit about building bridges that would overcome racial barriers can only be done if one's foundation and formation is based on love. And that's what 1 Corinthians 13 was all about. Paul gave all of these scenarios and then came back and said, but the greatest of these is love. The church fathers tried to explain to us that everything is going to pass away but love. Because God is love. And we love Him because He first loved us. Give me some feedback. Talk to me. Tell me your thoughts. Love. Any illustration of you having to love when you were not loved?
I think God makes it clear that love is more than just an action.
Yes, sir.
More than just an action. Because He said, whether you do all these things and have not love, it profits you nothing.
That's right. Your big zero.
So it has to be an inside thing. You know, it's something that you know, God can only do that. You have to be connected to God in order to love. You just can't make it up. You know, because there's a lot of people giving away a lot of money or a lot of things, but that don't mean they truly love.
Yes, sir. Hand it back.
Well, I kind of think that when you use the word love, you gotta have some traction to it. It can't sit still. It has to have some type of action to it. Because love do not sit still. It always works. And if love do not work, it's not love.
I like that. Demonstration. See, there's love God, love your enemy. Same word. Stop loving the world. Husbands, love your wife. Might have to pray like I did sometimes. God, help me. You gave me this woman. Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to share a short story.
Sure, please do.
Once I retired, I was looking for something to do. I didn't want to do busy work. I wanted to do something that I loved. And I love art. I love to draw. I love to paint. And I had been looking for quite a few years, and then I found Beasley Center. Because I had gone to some senior centers, and they were not satisfying my need. So I found the Beasley Center, and I went in, and they gave me a tour. And they had art classes, drawing, with instructors that were published painters. And I went to, they told me the acrylic painting class, and the oil painting class, and the water painting class, and ceramics, and jewelry making. I said, oh, wow, I'm home. So I started with one class, and I migrated, and I got into the ceramic classes, where I do the painting of the ceramics and greenware that's already been molded. And as I sat there, I noticed one of the instructors just staring. And people stare for two reasons. And you have to discern what that reason is. So I said, she does not want me here. But I have to find out why. So as she stared, I just painted. I painted. And she made comments that were off shade. I kept painting because I was home. So one day she came up to me and she actually started talking to me. And she offered to help me. And I said, okay, this is really good. So whatever it is that she's been watching, she's okay. So she came up and she showed me how to do this, and then we started talking back and forth and exchanging ideas. And a lot of times we found we had more in common than we had in differences. One day she came up and talked to me, and we were just laughing and talking, and she said, my grandmother loves Trump. I said, okay. I said, we needed him. And she said, yes, my grandmother loves him because he puts her in the mind of Hitler. And I'm still standing there. And I said, yes, because we are communicating. And that's what it's all about. And that took love.
Yeah.
Because a few years ago.
Yes, sir.
Well, me, love starts at home. The era I came up in, we had racism bad. And so Mama said, every man is a man. With no color there. Even with all that going on, Mama said you would love the people around you. And I'm like, and back then you didn't say, I ain't doing this and I ain't doing that. Yes, Mama. So back then, we learned love. Everybody around us. It was just like we had our own community. So to make love starts at home.
Amen. 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 And aren't you glad you listened to Mama? Because time has changed. Yes, ma'am.
We're talking about love, and Pastor mentioned growing up in the South. You know, you walk down the street, wherever you go, excuse me, wherever you go, you always spoke to people. When I moved to Virginia, I was speaking to people.
You moved from
They
where?
were not from Alabama to Virginia.
Okay.
They were not speaking back to me. I would speak to people, and it didn't matter the color. They would speak, and some would not. Most of them looked surprised. Now I'm noticing, because I'm who I am, I always speak to people. Now I noticed that when you smile and speak to people, then it's a whole different world. So I just kept doing me, because you couldn't pass by Miss Bessie's house and didn't speak. Because she was going to call my mama and tell her that Fanny went down the street and she didn't speak to me. And then you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you grow up. And so I think part of the racial thing is, it doesn't matter the color to me. Because if I walk in a door and there's an elderly, black, Hispanic, whatever, I'm not going through that door before that lady or that man. I'm not doing that. They was there came, I'm not going in the door before them. That's me. So I think we can do things that, as Pastor Clay was saying and as you're saying about love. Love means stop what we think we used to know and just do the right thing as we're going through. And be courteous and responsive to people. Because somebody might not have ever said anything or smiled at that person before, but you did. And so you're making a change with it.
Sure. I love it. Was that a hand? No? Yes, so in back.
Yes, now I was from the era of the 50s, and it was a lot of racial tension. But I grew up in a house that had love, and it was a dysfunctional family that had love. And then I grew up, and I was this little girl that wanted to love everybody, and the more I was pushed aside by those that didn't want me around them, I just loved more. And as I grew and I would ask questions and feelings would be hurt, and I would ask, well, why you make me like this, Lord? Why you make me where I have to love? And then 14 years ago, my son was killed, and I had to love, and I couldn't love, and then some hatred began to formulate within me, and I had never been there before, to the point that it was just really tearing me up inside. I was falling apart, and I wasn't myself and didn't know what to do. But I would get up thinking and hearing my mother say, the church is who we need now, the love. And I kept going to this church on Gus Lane. And I kept walking in every Sunday for Sunday school, and they would stop, the teacher would stop the class because I was talking about how bitter and how much hatred I had. He would stop the class and begin to talk, and the class would help and share about the love of God and the scriptures in the Word that helped me. And whenever I got to that point that I did not know, I don't know when that stuff was gone. But one Sunday I walked in, and that hatred, that bitterness was no longer there. I mean, just that word, he kept right on talking to me, the 37th Psalm, and said, fret not yourself, because of evildoers.
That's right.
And it kept going through all of that. But, so I'm just saying, the word said, with love and kindness have I drawn them.
Yes.
And I know if we as Christians would love with the depth that God has given us, we're gonna draw. And we're just like a magnet. And I know that's to be true. And I know because that love that I have had shared with me, I could tell you that I was almost at a point at one time in my life, I was ready to give up. But I had a little short lady that would get behind me. And her name was Doris. Say, you can do it. You can do it, Gladys. And Gladys kept right on and she kept saying, I failed that NTE test about 4 or 5 times. And she kept saying, you can do it. And one day I got a letter in my mailbox. Said you did it. And because of love, it works.
That NTE is what?
NTE, the National Teachers Examination.
And she's retired now. I mean, you know.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, listen, and we can go on because all of us have a story. If you've lived long enough, I mean, you have a story that you had to
Show love.
show love. Now, I don't know your definition for love, but we get a lot of things in Scripture where he said love, 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 love. And you're not saying love the same thing. So you need a good definition that you can hold on to and just make it happen. Okay, the world needs to see us. Love. Jesus said, they'll know you my disciples by the love. Yeah. Not your theology, but your love. And all of that is get deep down and come up with love. Because in this life you're going to be hurt. And it just happens. Like, oh my goodness, I wasn't expecting that. We were just looking at a good movie. And yet God will reach down and say, now I want to show you something. And you better say, oh Lord. I'm sorry, give me a little more love, Lord. Help me to exemplify you in the lives of people. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this.